Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to continuing the conversation. Today we're talking about the State Arts Action Plan for Ohio, where we're going to use the Arts Education Data Dashboard as well as the National Arts or Education Plan, and we're excited to share that with you. I just am going to ask my peers and co-hosts on the call to wave as I introduce them. We have Ann Usher from the Ohio Music Education Association. We have Jane D'Angelo from Ohio Dance. We may have Rodney Veal from Ohio Dance. I don't know who just popped in. We have Pat Centinello, I believe, from Ohio Educational Theater Association. Matt Young and Gail Mulder from the Ohio Arts Education Association. Raymond Mueller from the Ohio Department of Education. Donna Collins from the Ohio Arts Council, if she's not here, will be joining us. Joan Platts from my organization is our information coordinator, and Justin Cathmel is our board chair and choir director at Midview Local Schools and our presenter for today. Just a couple housekeeping points to note. Microphones are muted during the presentation. If you have questions, type them in the chat and I will monitor them. We are recording the presentation portion of today's conversation so that we can post that to our website and YouTube so people can come back and visit and watch Justin explore the tools whenever they need to. We'll have about 30 minutes at the end of the call for questions and Q&A, and we will not record that. So know that you can feel free to ask questions and they will not be archived. So with that, I'm pleased to turn the call over to Justin Cathmel, who's going to give us an overview of the plan and processes to use the Arts Education Data Dashboard. Justin.
Great, thank you so much, Jared. I'm going to go ahead and start the presentation. As Jared said, today is all about talking through the new statewide Arts Education Action Plan for 2021. So the organizations on this call have collaborated and have all endorsed this plan that we'll talk through this evening. This is in response to planning for next year, planning for a return to some of the, may not be exactly the normal that we had before the pandemic, but returning to some sort of normal instruction for next school year. And so as the plan, as you can see, the subtitle of the plan is Ensuring Equitable Arts Education Experiences for All Ohio Students in 2021 and beyond. And so the challenge becomes, how do we develop a plan that can be used by all of us across the state to help advocate for that goal? And so the vision of the plan, as it says, is that the Alliance and its partners, so the co-signers of this plan, will continue to provide detailed policy analysis and related action alerts to inform each component of the plan. And then, of course, the foundational goal then is to use the plan to educate their members on effective data-driven advocacy through these three components, so that it can serve as a foundation for some state policy initiatives in the future. So as you can see, there are three components. They mostly are happening all at the same time, but each have their own separate goals. And also who they are intended for. So you'll notice some are intended for stakeholders outside of the school environment. Some are intended for us as practicing arts educators across Ohio, and some are intended primarily for our students as we gather testimony from them to serve, to support our plan and our message. So that's the plan as a whole. We'll come back to this this visual at the end, but for right now, I'll just sort of break down each individual component for you over the next 15 minutes. And then, as Jared said, we will take some questions at the end. We'll stop the recording and take some questions. So here we go. Component number one is the Arts Our Education National Initiative. And this is an initiative that some of you may already be familiar with. The web address is up there at the top. I just took some excerpts from their website as the key components of their plan. They outline a very specific couple of things that we're facing right now: budget shortfalls, focus on remediation, and a continued need for PPE that are unique to arts classrooms. So those three things are the framework of their plan. And then at the bottom portion of your screen, embracing the arts or education plan, a campaign rather, encouraging your school board to pass the resolution and encouraging community members to sign the pledge, speaking with school leaders in your district, and celebrating with other school districts that embrace the campaign. And so as we were putting together this plan for Ohio, this to us is the framework, the foundation for which we can advocate at the local level. And so the other two components of the plan build upon this as the foundation. Some additional talking points from the Arts Our Education website are listed here. Again, continuing to fund arts education programs, making sure that things are appropriately scheduled, and then making sure that anything that is designed to address learning loss includes the arts and does not exclude arts instruction. And you can continue to read those talking points there. And again, that's on their website with the link there at the top of your screen. So feel free to go to that website for additional resources from that specific national campaign. So what we thought would be the next step to make sure that this really is focused on Ohio schools and the needs of your individual school districts is a tool that the Alliance has had available for several years, the Ohio Arts Education Data Project. And this is something that's publicly available that can help support your advocacy message. And again, using the framework of that national campaign and using some of those talking points, but then being able to support those talking points with very specific data points about your specific school or your specific district or both. And so part of this conversation today will be how to use this dashboard in a way that is helpful to you in your messaging and in your communication with your individual school or your individual district. So I just pre-recorded a little a video of our Alliance website to show you how to get to the dashboard. So if you go to our homepage, oaae.net, again, the link is there at the top of the screen. And then you hover over services at the top there, click services, and then click the plus sign for Ohio Arts Education Data Project. Click the link at the bottom. It'll open a new window for you. Sometimes takes a second to load. And then you'll click the image there at the bottom to visit the dashboard. Once again, might take a couple of seconds to load, but just be patient. And then this is where the home screen of the data project is on our website. As you can see, takes a couple of seconds. So there's the home page that we'll start with tonight. But that video is how you access the data project from our Alliance website. So I'm going to stop sharing for just a minute to switch windows to the sort of the live demo portion of the presentation. And we're going to go to our Alliance website to that dashboard right now. And I'm going to walk you through a couple of things. So this is where you'll get to on the homepage of the dashboard. Once you go through, it's just refreshing there. Once you get to where I just outlined for you, once you click through those steps, you'll get to this launch page. These are statewide data points as far as student access to the arts, school access to the arts, also breaks down the data by free and reduced lunch and enrollment by grade level. And anytime throughout the dashboard, you can hover over these data points, it will expand and give you more information. So as you can see, anytime I hover over something, it's going to give me more information. The two main tools that I want to draw your attention to throughout tonight's presentation are the school profile and the comparison tab. See that on top here, the tabs will guide you through what is available to you. So if you click school profile, and again, it's just really important to be patient as this loads. Sometimes it'll take a few seconds. Then the important thing, the question I get often is, when I get to this page, what do I do to find more information? The key is to click the filter tool at the top right-hand corner of your screen. I'm going to pull up my district, which is in Lorain County, as an example this evening. You'll notice you can filter by county and then by school year. So if you wanted to find a previous school year other than 2019, for the sake of this plan tonight, we're going to talk through the 2019 data so that it can be used as a point of comparison immediately prior to the pandemic. You can find your school district and then your school. I find the school profile to be very useful in constructing an advocacy message, because you're able to see all of the demographics for the school at the top. You're able to tell exactly what percentage of the student population was enrolled in each discipline. You're able to tell immediately how many arts teachers are employed at that particular school. This is just the high school now, not the whole district. And then also discipline enrollment by grade level all the way across. And again, as you hover over the bar graph, it will expand to tell you exactly how many students are enrolled. You can then see enrollment trends over time. So in this case, from 2016 to 2019, in both disciplines of music and visual art that are offered at the high school that I teach at. You can also see over here those enrollment trends over time on a composite basis for the whole school. In addition, course count is listed at the bottom. And then if you wanted to expand out to see what courses those are that are in that bar graph, you simply click this tool over here, and it will expand to show you exactly which courses were offered when. So you can see in 2018 where a songwriting class was started at the high school as an addition to the course count. So that is the school profile. In my opinion, with this plan constructed how it is at the local level, this tool can be really helpful to remind stakeholders, community, administrators, principals, teachers of how many students are enrolled, and more specifically, how many students were enrolled immediately prior to the school year that just ended with the pandemic. So prior to the 1920 school year, you can establish a sort of status quo, for lack of a better word, of what the enrollment trends were like in each of your areas. So for example, I've noticed this year that my enrollment has dropped slightly because the format has been different. And so you may want to make sure that you can establish the fact that that is not a normal level of course enrollment, and that coming out of the pandemic, we expect that enrollment should be able to return to those levels prior to COVID. And so I think that specifically the enrollment trends section of this school profile can be very helpful in helping you tell that story to your community. Again, this is available for any school in the district. You can again filter to another school district in the same county if you wanted, find a different district in Ohio by filtering by county or by district. And that's all up there in the top right-hand corner. Now, one final thing before I leave this screen, the most important thing to me about this is you're thinking, okay, I see all this wonderful stuff, but Justin, you clearly told us this is taking forever to load. How should I get this out of the dashboard so that I can help build that argument if I have a scheduling meeting, for example, with my principal? All you need to do to export the data in exactly the format that you see on the screen is go to the bottom right-hand corner. There's a rectangle with an arrow. You're going to click that. You can download this as an image, a PDF, or a PowerPoint. I'll choose PDF for the purposes of the presentation. It gives you a couple of formatting options. You click download. It'll process for just a second. and you click download, and it will open a different window, and I just had a PDF pop up on my screen. You can't not share that portion of the screen, but it will download that directly to your computer as a PDF. So you can save it and use that and take it with you to your meeting if needed. The other component of the data project dashboard that I would like to show you is comparisons. So it's the next tab over. Same thing with the filter in the top right-hand corner. You're going to go to county and filter anything you'd like. Once again, since I'm most familiar with these districts, I'll choose my own county here in Lorraine. And for the sake of comparison, I'm going to pick Midview and a couple of the schools around us. Geographically. And then if I wanted to filter by any other category, I could up here as well. Now, you'll see then that all of these have been listed here as a comparison. Each of these dots is a specific school. So if you'd like to just hover over those will tell you specific schools. Now, once you click on a school district, it will populate the rest of the data in the bottom portion of the dashboard. If you'd like to use the comparison function, all you have to do is hold down Shift on your keyboard and then keep clicking the names of the districts, and you will be able to compare everything that you have selected. So if you would like to use this as an advocacy tool, so you can immediately see the school count, you can compare the number of arts teachers that are employed by the school district, and you can compare arts enrollment as well as the percentage of schools with required arts courses. You can also see arts enrollment compared by grade level, as well as enrollment by arts discipline. I find, again, that this is a particularly useful tool if you are trying to make some comparisons with schools in your area. And then once again, if you're up in the filter area, you could also filter by school locale. So if you wanted to, these all four are different categories of coding. So if you wanted to compare all of the same type of school, you could also filter just by those as well for comparison's sake. So that is the comparisons tool on the dashboard. Again, those are the two sections of the dashboard, both school profile and comparisons, that to me fit best within the context of this plan and within the context of our advocacy efforts for the 2021 school year that will begin this fall. So I'm going to stop the share for the data project momentarily and go back to the PowerPoint that I have for this evening and just share with you the last step of the plan in addition to the data project, which is student testimonials. The final component to me, when you make an argument about in support of the arts, I think what's important is to also remember that students in our classrooms have thoughts and things that they want to say. This is a testimonial from one of my students at Midview High School who's been in the Triumph Music Honor Society all 4 years. To me, it's a very powerful quote. Specifically the piece that says school would mean nothing without music in it. And so I think it's really important to sort of balance the approach when you go into a meeting or when you have a conversation about the importance of the arts, to balance the approach with some data points, but also with some student experiences and testimonials. And so that is the third component of this plan, is to gather some of these quotes from your students. We are just coming to the end of Music in Our Schools Month specifically. And so I know I've seen lots of stories from teachers about how they've embedded an activity like this into Music in Our Schools Month, about asking their students why music and the arts are important. But I think it's something you could do at any time of year. So that is the third component of the Arts Education Action Plan, is gathering student testimonials to support the data points that you've gathered from the dashboard. So again, going back to this setup, component one is writing to legislators, signing the pledge to support the arts, informing community members, using the available resources on the website for that national campaign. The component two, utilizing the data project dashboard to demonstrate the status quo of programs before the pandemic, which will create an arts profile for every arts discipline in every district. And then the third component is to work with the leadership of student honor societies and other students in your programs to gather testimonials in support of arts education. Finally, I would like to close with a quote from a new research article that was actually just posted in the Journal of Research in Music Education last week, which is a study by Dr. Ken Elpis from the University of Maryland. And he studied a national data set of students that measured students transitioning from high school to college. This is a national data set that has been analyzed over the better part of the past 10 or 11 years. And his main finding to me was very, very relevant to our present moment. And I'll just read some highlights. The main takeaway of the study, and the one with the most direct impact on American high school students, should be addressed to those adults that are advising high schoolers on course selection. He is deconstructing the notion in this study that putting aside arts instruction is somehow a hindrance to students' chances of getting into a good college. Rather, he found that that has no impact on the student success rate. A lot of times, he outlines this in the study, a lot of times we hear that doubling up on a tested subject as opposed to taking an arts course is sometimes what is advice given to high school students as they prepare for college. And that paradigm is pretty much dismantled in the findings of this study. And I think this is very important. This is very important in the fact that the arts enrich a student's ability to be prepared for college. And I think that that is absolutely part of the conversation as we move forward into the 2021 school year. So I think at this point, we'll go ahead and move to the question and answer period of tonight's conversation. I've put Jared's email at the bottom of this slide because he's able to sort of figure out, he's a good person to email so that he can forward the question to whichever person could answer it best.